Good morning, everyone. I'm Allison Meyer. Thank you for joining us for this MEYERTech webinar. We will be continuing this webinar series every month to share insights into the many ways Meyer is using tech to troubleshoot, solve problems, and develop solutions in our industry. We will be randomly selecting the winner of the $100 American Express gift card from those of you who are still tuned in after the Q&A portion of the webinar. To start, I would like to take a minute to tell you a bit about Meyer in case you aren't already familiar. Meyer engineers and manufactures rugged, reliable, smart products for drilling well control systems and well testing equipment. We are API 16D licensed and headquartered in Corpus Christi, Texas, with satellite locations spread throughout the United States with an international reach. Meyer is dedicated to manufacturing the highest quality well testing equipment and control systems, ranging from BOP drilling and accumulator units to wellhead spider grease manifolds and hydrostatic pressure testing units. At Meyer, we manufacture and service the equipment you need to ensure safe and compliant well control in even the most demanding environments. This month's featured speaker is Paul, CEO of Torq-Comm, a revolutionary company whose focus is on product control, presenting industry standards or custom work instructions to the operator, remotely controlling pump settings, auto data acquisition, and one-touch report generation in hydraulic bolting. We are really excited here at Meyer to have partnered with Torq-Comm in order to help our customers improve quality assurance, ROI on real-time paperless systems, and cloud database traceability. Please feel free to send questions to Meyer or Paul during this presentation using the chat function here, or feel free to send me an email at ameyer@meyernow.com. We will do a short question and answer session after Paul presents, and I promise to be very respectful of your time. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Allison. My name is Paul Lionello, CEO of Torq-Comm, and we're based out of Nashville, Tennessee. And the primary focus behind this product is for joint integrity, data collection, and process control in the oil and gas industry, as well as many others, wind and so on and so forth, wherever, again, joint integrity is an issue. And so one of the main functions is to give you an insurance policy that the job was done according to specification, because our primary focus is to protect the assets, the people, the environment, and the reputation, because it only takes one accident to destroy your reputation for years. And that's why all of us have life insurance and health insurance and homeowners insurance and all the rest, car insurance, because of the fact it's a very valuable asset and we cannot afford to lose it. And so the Torq-Comm product is exactly that. It's an insurance policy to make sure it was done the way it was supposed to be done. Because this has been the standard operating procedure for the oil and gas industry for years. Basically we manually measure and document and that data is transferred, but seldom is it ever really transferred into any kind of a stat package or anything else in order to be able to analyze that data. When it is transferred into other packages, obviously you have the additional potential of human error and additional labor costs. But if that data is not transferred, you can't have process improvement. You must have data in order to have process improvement. And most of these data sheets are filed away and never seen again until it's time to point a finger at somebody. And that's just not the way that the business should be run. And that's the reason that the regulatory commissions such as PHMSA, most of you probably know who PHMSA is. For those of you that don't, it stands for Pipeline and Hazardous Material Safety Administration. And they oversee the installation and maintenance of pipelines throughout the United States. And we've met with them, with over 25 of their people, as well as went to Washington and met with BSEE for the offshore applications. And they're very, very interested in this technology, because that's a quote from them up there at the top, where they plan recommendations for pipeline operators to proactively manage pipeline integrity matters. They want the operators more involved to make sure that it's done according to specification. They've actually gone so far as to say they plan on expanding mandatory data collection and integration requirements for integrity management, including data validation. And that is what comprises the majority of phone calls we get today, is basically service providers, companies that are saying that my customer is demanding that I validate that it was done according to specification. And that's what this system does. So it gives everybody the assurance that we're not going to have a problem down the road. So to tell you a little bit about this product, it's the XT1000, is a process control data collector. And as you can see there, it's to ensure joint integrity. And again, I emphasize the word process control because there's other systems out there that collect data, but this product here actually walks you through the entire assembly process from A to Z. And you'll see that in one of our videos coming up. But this can be used in hydraulic bolting, pneumatic bolting, manual bolting. And just 3 weeks ago, we received our US patent for this product. So one of the things that we knew that we needed to do was to keep it small. We did not want to encumber the operator in any way because that only increases the potential of safety problems. So we made it small, we made it wrist mounted. This way you don't have to hold it at all, keeping it totally hands-free. We made it with a touchscreen display so that you don't have to take off your PPE gear in order to operate it like you would with your iPhone. It reads 1D and 2D barcodes. It's got a 4,000 milliamp hour lithium ion rechargeable battery, good for about 10 to 12 hours continuous usage, with a spare battery in the back of the cradle, which takes about 10 seconds to swap out. You have RFID. It's sealed to IP65 standards to endure 5-foot drops to concrete. We have a Class 1 Div 1 and a Class 1 Div 2 for ATEX certification. It has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth communication capability. It also has cellular capability. So if you're out on a pipeline somewhere and you don't have Wi-Fi, as long as you have a cell signal, you're able to communicate live to the cloud software. It will collect the data locally if you don't have Wi-Fi or cellular. Then when it comes back into range, it will automatically dump its data. It has assisted GPS on it, so you'll always know plus or minus 5 feet where on earth the job occurred. One of our claims to fame is that it works with any hydraulic or pneumatic bolting tool or pump, air or electric. So it doesn't matter if it's a 20-year-old pump that's been in the back room forever and hasn't been used, or one that you pull out of a box today brand new. It's going to work with any manufacturer's equipment. It gives you remote access to the latest work instructions. Any schematic or pick with step-by-step guidance can be loaded into the system. So it could be a wind turbine, it could be a heat exchanger, it could be a BOP or a Christmas tree, whatever, an engine block for that matter, whatever picture you want to load into the system, you can load it in and then spell out the step-by-step bolting sequence you want them to follow. Again, this is done by an administrator, not by an operator. Roles and privileges are based on the user's password. One of the great features in this product is that after every bolt is done, it will automatically send that data to the cloud. So we're not waiting until the entire job to be complete before we send the data. We send it after every bolt, which means as long as you have internet access, you can be anywhere in the world, even on an airplane, being able to watch this operation be assembled live. Each pass is charted for a visual confirmation, as you can see to the right there. You get a 30-day warning for calibration expiration, and that's because we monitor our tools not just by make and model, but by serial number. So it will give the operator a 30-day warning. If they don't get that tool recalibrated, it will not allow them to continue using that tool. The only way to override that is for a supervisor to come up and input his 4-digit PIN code authorizing the use of that tool that's out of calibration. However, that goes into the final report. It will say John Smith authorized the use of this tool. Calibration certificates can be made available on the commander for auditing purposes, and you get an automatic date and time stamp with a GPS stamp, so you'll always know when and where on earth the job occurred. Once the torque and pressure are calculated, the operator is guided through the entire assembly process. And of course, that guidance is in accordance to PCC 1. Out of tolerance readings must be approved by a supervisor or retightened. In either case, both are noted. So if the pressure didn't get high enough on the hydraulic pump, and obviously then the torque wasn't high enough, it's going to alarm the operator and not allow him to continue either until he says he's going to retighten it or call a supervisor over. That supervisor inputs his PIN code. And again, all this information goes into that final report. Assignable cause and corrective action. You walk up to a pipe flange, let's say all the bolts are rusted. That would be my assignable cause, rusted bolts. You can then have a pull down pick list with all your possible corrective actions on it, such as wire brushing off the bolts, cutting them off, swapping them out, whatever the case may be. So they enter the corrective action, and then on the back of the unit is a high-res camera. So you can take a picture of that corrective action, and all of that information goes into the final report. Tools can be swapped out at any time because, let's face it, tools can break. So a tool breaks right in the middle of a pass and you need to grab another tool. You can select any tool you want that's loaded into your commander. You could have 100 different tools loaded into your commander. You select a tool. Now, the system will only allow you to select a tool that can meet the pressure requirements for this job. If it's going to break the tool, it will not allow you to select that tool. And once you select that tool, all the pressure to torque conversions from the calibration are loaded into the system, and they're able to pick up right where they left off. No data can be edited by anyone, not by the admin, not by the supervisor, not by the operator, not by me. Nobody can edit the data. And no pressure or torque data can be entered manually by hand. It has to come from the gauge. So you don't have to worry about, operators wanting to go home early on a Friday afternoon and we're just going to enter the data they're looking for. That can't be done, which is how they can do it today when they're writing it down on paper. This system here dictates that it has to come from the gauge and it cannot be edited after that point, and you cannot enter it by hand at all. This means at the end of the day, what you see on the report is what you got. You get an unlimited number of user-definable traceability fields. You can call them whatever you want. You can have as many of them as you want. Supervisor, job location, operator, etc. You have 3 different ways to input that data: your keyboard, your pick list, or your barcode. And you can force the entry of any field. So if operator is a mandatory thing you must know, they can't even start the job until they first enter who the operator is. And you can force the means by which the data is entered. So if you don't want them typing it in on the keyboard because they might misspell it or fat finger the keyboard, whatever, you can say it has to come from the pick list. And then that would be the only way the data could be input. All right, we have 3 different modes for setting up jobs based on whether or not you need to do calculations. And these jobs can be created either on our cloud software and downloaded to the commander, or on the fly out in the field. A supervisor, maybe a special situation comes up, an emergency, and a supervisor has to create a job that wasn't created up on the cloud. He can create that job because he has that 4-digit authorization with his PIN code. He can create the job right on the commander on the fly, and then when the data goes up, it sends the job up with it. And all the different parameters there that you can see that make up our library, the pipe size, the working pressures, etc. The operator does nothing with this. This is all done prior. The operator just picks up the unit and knows what the pump pressure needs to be and what's the % yield on that bolt going to be as a result. So this is a video. It's a first-time user of the XT1000, and he is also a first-time user of a hydraulic wrench. We have a Bluetooth pressure gauge mounted on the hydraulic pump, which is going to be communicating values to the commander, pressure values. Okay, then you hit done. All right, it'll tell you the next bolt. Go ahead and hit next bolt. So you can see it's a process controller. Okay, now what's it say?
Bolt pressure is not within
10%. So you have an error there. So you can say, okay, Go ahead and hit OK. And then you can say cancel, and we will retighten it. Okay. So the bottom left there, you see retighten bolt? Let's go there and see if we can get that. You're good. And let's see if we can go ahead and let's retighten it and see if we can get that pressure to where it needs to be. You see the target pressure there, 1660?
Yep.
Okay, you're already there. Perfect. So say done. Just once. All right, next bolt. And start.
Okay, you can advance that.
Okay, now we move to the next bolt. So you can see there with the hydraulic pump and that Bluetooth pressure gauge sending over those readings, it walks that operator through the entire bolting process, confirming that it was done according to specification and confirming that it was on the right bolt. Bolting sequence is very important, and that's why we designed these torque tags. These torque tags here are to confirm the bolting sequence, and you can get them in sets of 28 or 56 in magnetic or adhesive. The oil and gas seem to prefer magnetic, and they'll take them from flange to flange, whereas the wind industry likes the adhesive because they'll put them on there and they want them to stay there permanently, because when they come back later, they want to perform an audit to see if there's been any relaxation in that joint. But it's going to greatly improve the visual reference, obviously replacing your chalk or pen markers. You can stack up to 3 colors for multiple passes, red, green, and yellow. And you obviously in that one picture, you can see the commander up there scanning that tag. If it's the wrong tag, it will not allow them to continue. And that's according to PCC 1. It gives them an error on the screen. They have to clear it out, scan the right tag, and then it will allow them to go into the data collection mode. Obviously, it's going to greatly reduce the likelihood of leaks. Now, the Commander XT1000 is a different product altogether. The 1000 is a process control data collector. The XT2000 does everything that the 1000 does, plus pump control. We allow you to control that pump wirelessly up to 40 feet away, and we can change it, change its pressures and be within spec in as little as 5 seconds. You can see that the control is much more accurate with the digital technology than with the analog technology, and it saves time in constant pump adjustments. So I took this to Caterpillar headquarters, and they were, assembling big earth movers there. And they had a guy up on the scaffold doing the assembly work. And they had a guy down on the ground adjusting the pump pressures. And they had a guy sitting off to the right, writing down the data values as they called them out. So they were using 3 people to do the job. And they asked me, they said, Paul, if this thing automatically controls the pump and it automatically collects the data, you're telling me I can now do the job with 1 person instead of 3. I said, yes, that's correct. But one additional benefit, you'll never be out of spec again. You notice it will never allow you to be under spec, and it'll never be too tight, because too tight can be just as bad as too loose. This will do all this control. We do it externally so as to not violate the manufacturer's warranty. Every unit is AC or battery operated, and it very well could eliminate the need for explosion-proof equipment due to the distance I can now put the pump away from the actual application. Let's look at a video of this. And Allison, if you can start it, and if you'd stop it after just a couple seconds into it. Okay, so you see the Bluetooth pressure gauge there with 2061 PSI displayed. That's communicating to the commander, which is in the bottom left-hand corner there of the picture. But bear in mind that that commander could be up to 40 feet away. Now that commander then communicates to that gear set. We took the cover off the controller so that you could see the gears turning. So you're going to see a finger come in from the left-hand side and hit that orange button on the commander. The operator cannot determine what the pressure should be set to. The system automatically knows based on PCC1. So all he hits is adjust, and the system goes to pressure. For those of you that have adjusted hydraulic pumps before, you know that it takes a long time to dial them in accurately. This system here is going to adjust over 3,000 PSI and be within spec in 4 seconds. So again, keep your eye on the gears. You'll see them turn, and we'll be within where we need to be in 4 seconds. Adjust as things such as temperature and viscosity of the hydraulic fluid change. And it's 88 psi more accurate than the analog gauge. Now, once all of this data is sent from the Bluetooth pressure gauge on the hydraulic pump, it goes over to the commander, and after the operator hits done on any particular bolt, it immediately sends it to the cloud software. And the cloud software is a total comprehensive report. Everything that took place in that job is reported in this PDF document. You can see each pass that was done. If you hold your mouse over any one of those bolts on any one of those passes, it will tell you the pressure and the torque applied on that bolt during that pass. Underneath there, you can see every pass, every bolt, target pressure, actual pressure, torque applied, the time it was done, supervisory comments. That sheet over to the far right, that shows me all my traceability information, who was the operator, et cetera, et cetera. You get a production report down at the bottom. You can see when the job started, when the job ended. You can see the bolting pattern. You can see what tool was used, anything that was used for calculating, you know, the torque or the percent yield, all the way down to 12 places. As you can see, all the way down the very bottom of that sheet. You see those 2 long numbers. That's 12 places on the GPS locator. Type that into Google Maps and you'll see exactly where on earth the job occurred. Over to the left, you can see we also have a CSV export. If you want to export this data to another package, such as Excel. We do custom software integration if you have tools that you'd like to integrate into this system. And one thing we invented this last year called Invisiware. We were talking to a lot of customers that really didn't want to introduce any new software into what they were currently doing in their daily routine. They had a software that they had chosen. They have a software they liked. Everyone had been trained on it, had been paid for. So they really didn't want to have to introduce a new software that they'd have to maintain, et cetera, et cetera. So what we did, but yet they, at the same time, they wanted to use the commanders. They didn't have anything out on the shop floor or out in the field that would collect the data to send to their software. So we invented Invisiware, which acts as a translator. It's a cloud software that you don't have to touch at all. It's invisible to you. That's why we called it Invisiware. But what it does is it receives data from your software system that you're currently using today. It puts it into a format that the commander can read and understand. Sends it down to the commander. Your operator does all of their operation, collecting the data, et cetera, and then the system sends it back up to Invisiware, and Invisiware sits there and holds it until which time your system comes and grabs it and brings it in. That means you're able to use the software that you have today that everyone's trained on, and now just add the commanders to what you're currently doing, and everything in the background is seamless. So I thank you folks for the opportunity to be able to present the TorqComm Commander series to you and turn it back over to Allison at this time.
Thanks so much, Paul. We have a couple questions from our audience today, and then we will get to the gift card giveaway. Paul, what about manual torque wrenches? We work on a refinery where around 80% of the joints are done manually. How could this help us?
Yes, we've integrated the system with the Tanichi torque wrench. The entire line of Tanichi Bluetooth wrenches. Tanichi is one of the largest torque wrench manufacturers in the world. So all of their Bluetooth manual wrenches will work seamlessly with the TorQ-Comm commander. And measuring not just torque, but angle as well.
Perfect. All right, now what you've all been waiting for. We have just chosen a random name for all of you who are still watching for the winner of the gift card. The winner of our gift card is Jean Johnson. If you can please send me an email at ameyer@meyernow.com, I will get that sent your way today. In closing, thank you again for spending this time with us. If you have any questions about Meyer or TorqComm technologies, please feel free to call or email me at any time. Our office number is 877-44-MEYER, that's MEYER, or send me an email at ameyer@meyernow.com. We would love for all of you to join us next month for our webinar featuring our own engineer, Noel McKinn, who will be giving some proprietary peeks into Meyer's racing system technology. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the day. We hope to see you next month.